speculative prospective customers played with the accompanying handheld gear sticks sampling the games. Bedlam was all about. The evening, when I came home that evening, I started to think of it, simpler Christmases and simple Christmas gifts of long ago. Some weeks prior to Christmas 1951, I would have accompanied my father to Flavin's shop in Church Street. This was primarily a newspaper, stationery and bookshop. However, each Christmas they would have stocked the shop up with cowboy outfits, board games, carpenter sets and all types of comic annuals. My father, who used to get his mandatory daily Irish press at this shop for many years, would perch himself on the stool outside the counter, and both he and Daddy Flavin would discuss the state of local, national and global politics at length, and more than likely would be telling each other how lucky the country was to have David the Hillum. Meanwhile, I would amuse myself handing the ties or flicking through the bundles of comics stacked in the second counter. On this occasion, Mr. Flavin must have seen me handling a gun which I had taken from a holster and which I was trying on for size, when he turned to my father and said, "You should get that young fella to write to Santy for a gun and holster. I think he'd make a great cowboy." So when we returned home, I was told to write a letter to the great man. On Christmas morning when I woke up, I remember getting out of bed and going out into the landing, and there lying on the chair, neatly folded, were leggings with frills, a waistcoat with sheriff's badge pinned on, a gun and holster and a hat. Midnight mass would have been on the previous night, so after a quick breakfast I would hit the street with my imaginary horse, meeting up with the rest of the neighbouring pals, who strangely enough would have got the same type cowboy outfits as well. That day and for many days afterwards, except for feeding times, we would be found on imaginary cattle drives, shooting outlaws or bringing law and order to the Wild West on the street and back ways of our side of town. Boxes of required ammunition, caps for the guns, were brought from a lovely old lady, Lily Mayor Sullivan, who ran a shop on the street and who sadly was beaten to death in the same shop many years in the 1980s. The following year, 52, was a watershed. Again, I accompanied my father to Flavin's, the same ritual being followed. Before leaving the shop, Mr. Flavin warned me to write my letter to Santy. This year, an older sister stood over me while the letter was written, which she then took to post. Midnight mass was attended and then to bed and a necessary sleep in order to herald the new day. However, whether it was excitement or what, but the night's sleep did not come quickly. A little later, I had my mother and sister Nora in conversation outside in the landing. "Put it up in the chair, that's where it's usually left," said my mother. After that there was silence. I got out of bed, opened the bedroom door, and there in the chair was the carpenter set, similar to one which I had seen in Flavin's a few days before. At that moment, the magic of a child's Christmas had been broken and would never again be the same for me. However, the mistake manifested itself in a different way when I played Santa Claus for my own 3 children. I have seen and have lived their joy with them when they found their gifts on many a Christmas morning. Now, as the years have advanced, I have shared the joy of seeing the happiness re-energized on the faces of our grandchildren when Santa Claus pays the annual visit. A child's Christmas is a special time, and long may it continue.